Admiral Olivia Hayes stood by the large window in her office, looking out at the Pacific Ocean. Her office was on the top floor of the United Defense Force headquarters in San Diego. To most of the world, this building was just another government facility. Few knew what really happened in the lower levels. The small device on her desk beeped 3 times. She turned from the window and pressed a button to receive the message. Commander Russell's voice filled the room, describing the distress signal from the restricted zone. Hayes listened without expression, but her mind was already racing through the implications. "Activate Protocol Omega," she said to her computer, after the message ended. "Authorization Hayes Alpha 69. The computer screen changed to show a red symbol, a shield with a hidden sword behind it. Protocol Omega activated. Facility Atlantis alerted. Hayes picked up her personal communication device. "Prepare my transport. I'm going to Atlantis." 30 minutes later, Hayes was aboard a small aircraft that looked ordinary from the outside. Inside, it contained technology that no civilian had ever seen. The craft descended toward what appeared to be an empty section of the Pacific Ocean. As they approached the water, the ocean seemed to split open, revealing a massive entrance to an underwater facility. Facility Atlantis was humanity's greatest secret. Built 200 years ago, after the Arcturus Treaty had forced humans to disarm most of their military fleet, it housed what few outside Earth knew existed: the Shadow Fleet. The aircraft landed in a massive hangar. Hayes stepped out to find her senior staff already waiting. Colonel Frank Weber, head of operations, walked forward to meet her. "The fleet commanders are gathering in the main briefing room," he said as they walked quickly through the facility. "All ships are at readiness level 2. Move them to level 1, Hayes ordered. "I want launch capability within 2 hours." They entered a large room where 20 men and women in various uniforms sat around a circular table. They stood as Hayes entered. "As you've been informed, we've received a distress call from the restricted zone," Hayes said without preamble. "Someone has broken treaty and is now in danger. Our job is to get them out." She nodded to Weber, who displayed a star map on the large screen. A blinking red dot showed the origin of the distress signal. "This is deep in the Arcturus sector," Hayes continued. "We need a fast ship with stealth capability. This will be a rescue mission only. Get in, find our people, get out. No engagement with any forces unless absolutely necessary." She looked around the table. "Captain Jack Palmer, your ship is our best option." Palmer was a tall man with short, gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. "The Phantom is ready, Admiral. We can launch in 90 minutes. "Good. Take 2 support vessels, the Eclipse and the Wraith. Keep them at the edge of the sector as backup." Political Officer Diane Foster, a slim woman with short blonde hair, spoke up. "Admiral, I must point out that we are violating every treaty we've signed with the Alliance. If they discover this fleet, then we'd better not be discovered." Hayes replied firmly, "But we don't leave our people stranded." The meeting continued with technical details. When it ended, Hayes took Palmer aside. "Jack, this mission has to be clean. We can't afford an incident with the Alliance. Not yet." Palmer nodded. "I understand. But if someone's hunting humans out there, then we need to know who and why," Hayes finished. "Get me answers, Jack, and bring our people home." 2 hours later, Palmer stood on the bridge of the Phantom. From the outside, the ship looked like a standard long-range cargo hauler. Inside, it was the most advanced warship ever built by human hands. Palmer addressed his crew through the ship's communication system. "We're about to sail into restricted space on an unsanctioned rescue mission. Anyone who wants to stay behind, now's your chance." He paused, looking around the bridge. No one moved. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Kelly Wright, stood at his side. "The crew is ready, sir. All systems green." Palmer nodded and turned to the helm officer. "Take us up nice and easy." The Phantom and its 2 escort ships rose from the underwater base. As they broke the surface of the ocean, their outer appearance changed. Special panels made them look like ordinary transport vessels. Any Alliance ships that scanned them would see nothing unusual. As the small fleet reached orbit, Palmer ordered, "Activate jump drives. Let's go find our people." The stars stretched into lines as the ships jumped to faster-than-light speed. In her office deep under the Pacific, Admiral Hayes watched their departure on a secure screen. Colonel Weber stood beside her. "Do you think the Alliance knows about the Shadow Fleet?" he asked quietly. "They suspect," Hayes replied. "They've always suspected. That's why the treaties are so restrictive for humans. They fear what we might do if we ever built a real military force again. And they're right to fear it," Weber said. Hayes turned to look at him. "No, Frank. They misunderstand. We didn't build these ships to conquer. We built them because someone has to be ready when the universe throws something unexpected at us. That's what humans do. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." She looked back at the screen where the 3 ships had vanished into the depths of space. "And I have a feeling we're about to find out just how wise that preparation was." Far away at the research outpost, Susan Miller kept watching her screen. The distress signal had suddenly stopped. She looked at Commander Russell with worry in her eyes. "It just cut off," she said. Mid-transmission. Russell's face remained calm, but his hand tightened on the back of her chair. "Help is coming," he said quietly. "Just hold on a little longer." In the darkness of the restricted zone, something moved toward the approaching human ships. It sensed them, even though no normal sensors should have detected them. It had been a long time since it had faced worthy prey. It was eager for the hunt to begin. The small research outpost floated quietly at the edge of the Orion Arm. It was a simple metal structure with solar panels that sparkled in the distant starlight. Inside, Dr. Susan Miller sat at her communication station, her eyes half closed, as another quiet shift passed by. The outpost was one of many that the Galactic Alliance had placed throughout this section of space. Its job was simple: listen for signals and report anything unusual. Susan was the only human among the 6-person crew. The others were from different Alliance species: 2 blue-skinned Veldarians with their 4 eyes, a tall insect-like Krath, and 2 furry Malorians who barely reached Susan's waist. They all worked for the Alliance Science Division, monitoring this empty region of space mainly out of routine rather than necessity. "Another boring day in paradise," Susan muttered to herself as she adjusted her headset. As a xenolinguist, her job was to identify and translate any communication signals the outpost picked up. But in 3 years at this post, she had only ever heard standard Alliance communications and the occasional random space noise. The small screen in front of her suddenly lit up with a pattern she hadn't seen before. Susan sat up straight, her tiredness gone in an instant. The signal was weak but clear, a repeating pattern that made her heart beat faster. "That's impossible," she whispered. The pattern was one she recognized from her training days. It was an old human distress signal, one that hadn't been used for over 200 years. What made it even stranger was that it came from the restricted zone, an area of space that humans were forbidden to enter after the Arcturus Treaty was signed in 2289. Susan quickly ran the signal through her computer. The encryption was modern, not ancient. This wasn't some old message bouncing around space for centuries. It was new. Someone was out there right now, sending a call for help. She pressed the communication button for the command center. "Captain, Zalos, I've picked up a signal from the restricted zone. It's a human distress call." The Veldarian captain appeared on her screen, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of concern in his species. "Are you certain, Dr. Miller? No human ship should be anywhere near that sector." "I'm positive, sir. It's using modern encryption, but the pattern is definitely a human SOS. I will notify Alliance Command. Please continue monitoring," Zalos said before cutting the connection. Susan didn't wait. She had another call to make. She quickly pressed a different button on her console, one that connected to the military wing of the outpost. Commander Alan Russell appeared on her screen. His uniform was crisp, and his expression was serious as always. As the human military liaison to the Galactic Alliance in this sector, he was technically not part of the research team, but rather an observer ensuring treaty compliance. "Commander, I've picked up a human distress signal from the restricted zone," Susan said without greeting. Alan's eyes narrowed. "Are you sure?" "Positive. Modern encryption, but using the old pattern. Someone's breaking treaty and is in trouble. I'll be right there." 5 minutes later, Alan stood behind Susan's chair, watching as she played the signal again. His face showed no emotion, but Susan knew him well enough to see the tension in his jaw. "The Alliance will do nothing," he said quietly. "They'll call it a malfunction or a ghost signal." As if on cue, the door slid open and Captain Zelos entered with his assistant, a young Malorian named Grak. "Alliance Command has reviewed your report, Dr. Miller," Zelos announced. "They believe it is either a sensor malfunction or perhaps an ancient signal that has been reflecting off various spatial bodies. They have ordered us to log it but take no further action." Susan opened her mouth to argue, but Alan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Thank you for the update, Captain," Alan said smoothly. "We understand the diplomatic complications that would arise from investigating the restricted zone." After Zelos left, Susan turned to Alan with fire in her eyes. "You know that's nonsense. The signal is current, not ancient. The encryption alone proves that." "I know," Alan replied calmly. "And so does Alliance Command. But they won't risk a diplomatic incident over what might be nothing. So we just ignore it? Someone out there needs help." Alan looked around to make sure they were alone. "No, we don't ignore it, but we need to be careful. The treaty restrictions on humans are much stricter than for other species. If we're caught breaking them, I don't care about politics when lives are at stake," Susan said firmly. Alan's expression softened slightly. "Neither do I. That's why I'm going to make a call." He walked to his private quarters and locked the door. From a hidden compartment in his desk, he pulled out a small device that wasn't on any official inventory. It created an encrypted channel that the Alliance couldn't monitor, a direct line to Earth's United Defense Force. "This is Commander Russell, authorization code Sigma 9 Delta 4, he said quietly into the device. "We have a situation that requires your special attention. Human distress signal detected in the Arcturus restricted zone. Grid coordinates following. Signal uses modern encryption protocols. Alliance has declined to investigate." He paused, then added, "Recommend activation of Protocol Omega. Russell out." Alan put the device away and returned to the command center. Susan was still at her station, watching the signal repeat. "What now?" she asked. "Now we wait," Alan replied, "and we pray that whoever sent that signal can hold out a little longer." In the silence of the room, the distress call continued to pulse across Susan's screen. 3 short bursts, 3 long bursts, 3 short again. SOS. The oldest call for help known to humanity. Far away in the depths of the restricted zone, something waited in the darkness. Something that had found human prey for the first time in centuries and was savoring the hunt. It didn't know that its actions had just awakened something far more dangerous. The most dangerous fleet in the galaxy was about to be summoned. The Phantom dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the restricted zone. Its 2 escort ships, the Eclipse and the Wraith, remained at a safe distance as ordered. Captain Jack Palmer stood on the bridge, watching the main screen. The stars looked the same as in any other part of space, but everyone on the bridge felt the tension. They were breaking at least 5 major treaty provisions just by being here. "Scan for the source of the distress signal," Palmer ordered. "Lieutenant, Kelly Wright worked at her console. I'm picking up debris about half a light hour from our position. The signal came from that location. Take us in, low power. Full stealth mode." The Phantom moved forward slowly. Unlike normal ships that left energy trails, the Phantom's engines were designed to absorb and mask their own emissions. To most sensors, the ship would appear as nothing more than a small asteroid. As they approached the coordinates, the debris field came into view on the screen. Palmer felt his stomach tighten. The wreckage was clearly from a human vessel. "It's the science ship Aurora," Wright said after checking the identification codes in the debris. "According to official records, it was decommissioned 3 years ago." "Apparently not," Palmer replied. "Scan for life signs." The sensor officer, a young man named Ben Harper, reported, "I'm detecting a single escape pod at the edge of the debris field. 1 life sign, very weak. Bring it aboard." Medical team, to the docking bay. 20 minutes later, Palmer stood in the medical bay as the ship's doctor worked on the survivor. The man was barely alive, suffering from radiation burns and other injuries. His breathing was shallow, and his face was pale. "He's stabilizing," Dr. Lisa Grant reported. "I've got him on full support. He should regain consciousness soon." "Good work," Palmer said. "I need to know what happened here." An hour later, the survivor opened his eyes. He looked confused, then afraid, then relieved when he saw the human faces around him. "You came," he whispered. "I didn't think anyone would come. We're here," Palmer said. "I'm Captain Jack Palmer of the ship Phantom. Can you tell us your name and what happened?" "Dr. William Carter. I'm a xenobiologist. We were studying something we found. Something old." "The Aurora was decommissioned years ago," Palmer said. "What were you really doing out here?" Carter closed his eyes briefly. "Secret research. We found evidence of a civilization that existed before any known species in the Alliance. The government sent us to investigate quietly." "What happened to your ship?" "They found us," Carter said, his voice shaking. "They came out of nowhere. Massive ships. We tried to communicate, but they didn't respond. They just attacked." "Who are they?" Palmer asked. "We called them the Harvesters. They're not like any species in the Alliance database. They're tall, with dark skin that reflects light oddly. They communicate through some kind of mental connection. We could feel them in our heads before we even saw them." Palmer exchanged glances with Wright, who stood nearby. This was far worse than a simple rescue mission now. "What did they want?" Palmer asked. "Us," Carter replied simply. "They weren't interested in our technology or research. They were hunting us, like sport. They disabled our ship and then boarded. I only escaped because I was in a maintenance shaft when they came. I got to an escape pod while they were—" He stopped, unable to continue. Palmer placed a hand on the man's shoulder. "You're safe now. We're going to get you home." As Palmer left the medical bay, Wright followed him. "Sir, we should notify the escort ships and return to Earth immediately. This is way beyond our mission parameters." "Agreed, but first I want a full scan of this region. If these harvesters are still around, the Alliance needs to know." Palmer returned to the bridge and ordered, "Full sensor sweep, maximum range. Look for any ships that don't match known Alliance designs." The crew worked quietly. After several minutes, the sensor officer reported, "Captain, I'm detecting an anomaly at coordinates 227 by 84. It's big, sir. And it's using some kind of cloaking technology." "Can they see us?" Palmer asked. "I don't think so, sir. Their sensors seem to be passive right now." Palmer studied the readings. The alien vessel was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Phantom, and it was sitting just at the edge of their sensor range, almost as if it was watching them. "They're tracking us," he said quietly, "waiting to see what we do." Suddenly, the communications officer called out, "Sir, I'm picking up strange energy patterns. They might be communications, but unlike anything I've seen before." Lieutenant Lisa Chen, the communications specialist, worked quickly at her station. "Sir, these patterns match what Dr. Carter described. They appear to be some form of psionic communication. I think I can partially decode them using our neural interface system." "Do it," Palmer ordered. Chen connected her station to a special system that had been designed to interpret alien thought patterns. After several tense minutes, her face paled. "Sir, they're calling for reinforcements, many of them. I'm picking up coordinates, rally points. They're organizing a hunting party." "How many ships?" Palmer asked. "At least 12, based on the communication patterns. And, sir, they're talking about Earth. They know where we come from." Palmer made his decision quickly. "Send a message to the escort ships. Tell them to return to Earth immediately with Dr. Carter and all the data we've collected. They need to warn Admiral Hayes." "What about us, sir?" Wright asked. "We're staying. Someone needs to slow these things down and learn more about their capabilities." Wright nodded, understanding the unspoken part of the order. The Phantom would likely not be returning from this mission. As the crew prepared for battle, Palmer looked at the alien ship on the screen. These harvesters had no idea what they were facing. The Phantom might be just one ship, but it represented humanity's best-kept secret, a fleet designed to face unknown threats. A fleet built by people who had never stopped preparing for the worst, even when forced to pretend they had. "Weapons online," Palmer ordered. "Let's show these hunters what happens when they prey on humans." In the darkness of space, the Phantom's stealth systems disengaged. Panels slid open along its hull, revealing weapon systems that would have horrified the Galactic Alliance. The ship transformed from an unassuming transport vessel into what it truly was, a warship designed by the most dangerous military minds of humanity. The hunt was about to become a battle. The Phantom faced the massive alien vessel as the escort ships jumped away with Dr. Carter and the evidence. Captain Palmer stood on the bridge, his face calm despite the odds against them. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered. "Tactical, display on main screen." The screen showed the alien ship, a dark, curved shape that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its surface had odd patterns that shifted and moved, almost like living tissue. "They're powering weapons, Lieutenant," Wright reported. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Palmer nodded. "Show them what we can do, Lieutenant. Target their weapon systems only." The Phantom fired first. Beams of blue energy shot from hidden ports along its hull, striking the alien vessel with precision. The alien ship shuddered visibly. "Direct hits," Wright said, surprise in her voice. "Their shields weren't expecting our phase-shifting weapons." The alien vessel responded immediately. Dark purple energy bolts flew toward the Phantom. Most missed, as the human ship moved with unexpected speed and agility. "Evasive pattern Delta," Palmer called out. "Keep us moving." One bolt struck the Phantom's rear section. The ship shook, but its shields held. "Shields at 87%, the engineering," officer reported. "Their weapons are powerful but slow to target." Palmer smiled slightly. "Good, let's use that. Bring us around for another pass." For the next 20 minutes, the battle continued. The Phantom darted around the massive alien ship, firing at key points and dodging return fire. The humans fought, with a mix of practiced discipline and creative improvisation that seemed to confuse the alien hunters. Communications officer Lisa Chen worked frantically at her station throughout the battle. She had connected her neural interface directly to the ship's sensors, attempting to decode more of the alien psionic communications. "Captain," she called out suddenly, her voice strained from the mental effort. "I'm getting more information from their communications. These aliens, the Harvesters, they're some kind of self-appointed guardians of the galaxy. They've been eliminating potential threats for thousands of years." "What kind of threats?" Palmer asked, even as he ordered another attack run. "Species they deem too aggressive or advancing too quickly. They wait until a species reaches a certain technological level, then eliminate them before they can become a real challenge." Chen's face paled. "Earth is on their list. They identified us as dangerous after watching our rapid advancement." Palmer processed this information quickly. "So they're hunting us because we're a potential threat to their dominance." "Yes, sir. And according to their communications, this is just a scouting party. Their main fleet is gathering for a full assault on human space." Another hit rocked the Phantom. This time the impact was harder. "Shields at 43%, the engineering," officer reported. "We've taken damage to our port engine." Palmer checked the tactical display. The Phantom had inflicted significant damage on the alien vessel, but 3 more Harvester ships had appeared at the edge of the sensor range. "We can't win this fight," Palmer said calmly, "but we can make sure our escort ships get away clean." He turned to Wright. "Prepare the Nova package." Wright's eyes widened, but she nodded. The Nova package was the Phantom's last resort weapon, essentially a controlled antimatter reaction that would destroy the ship and create a massive explosion. "Send all our data to the escort ships," Palmer ordered Chen. "Make sure they have everything we've learned about these Harvesters." As the crew worked, the Phantom continued its dance with the alien ships. Despite taking more hits, the human vessel fought with increasing ferocity. Its adaptive systems analyzed the alien attack patterns and adjusted the Phantom's defenses accordingly. "Sir, the main alien vessel is preparing to launch boarding craft," Wright reported. They seem determined to capture rather than destroy us now. They want to study us, Palmer said. Not going to happen. He opened a channel to the entire ship. All crew, this is the captain. You fought with honor and skill today. The Phantom has lived up to every expectation. Now it's time for our final act. He closed the channel and turned to Wright. Set the Nova package for remote detonation. We need to get as close as possible to their command ship. The Phantom surged forward, taking hit after hit as it closed with the main alien vessel. Its shields failed, and parts of the hull began to break away under the alien assault. Boarding craft approaching, Wright said. 30 seconds to contact. Palmer nodded. All crew to escape pods, launch sequence Alpha. Around the ship, small pods ejected into space, each containing crew members. They scattered in different directions, using the debris from the battle as cover. Palmer remained on the bridge with Wright and Chen. You two should go, he said, with Cyan. Respect, sir, we're staying, Wright replied. Chen nodded in agreement. Palmer didn't argue. Very well. Let's make this count. The Phantom, now barely holding together, collided with the side of the main alien vessel. Its remaining engines pushed it deeper into the alien ship's structure. Nova package armed, Wright reported. 10 seconds to detonation. Palmer opened a final communication channel to the escort ships. This is Palmer. The Harvesters are planning a full-scale attack on Earth. We've done what we can here. The rest is up to you. The last image transmitted from the Phantom showed the 3 officers standing proudly on the bridge as the countdown reached 0. The explosion was visible across half the sector. The main alien vessel was completely destroyed, and 2 others were severely damaged. The shockwave created a temporary disruption in space that would make immediate pursuit of the escape pods and escort ships impossible. In the command center of the Alliance capital world, alarms sounded as sensors detected the massive energy release from the restricted zone. The council members gathered an emergency session demanding explanations from their military advisors. What could cause such an explosion? Asked the Veldarian counselor. Unknown, replied the military advisor, but it originated from the exact coordinates where the human outpost reported a distress signal. On Earth, Admiral Hayes received the final transmission from the Phantom along with all the data it had gathered. She stood in the control room, a facility Atlantis surrounded by her staff, watching the information flow across the screens. The escort ships will be back in 22 hours, Colonel Weber reported. Dr. Carter is stable but still in critical condition. Hayes nodded, her face grim. The Phantom bought us time, now we need to use it. She turned to her staff. Activate the entire Shadow Fleet, all of it. This is what we built it for. Throughout the massive underwater facility, lights came on in darkened bays. Hundreds of ships, from small fast attack craft to massive battle cruisers, began powering up their systems. Ships that officially didn't exist, crewed by men and women who had trained in secret for years, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. The most dangerous fleet ever built by human hands was about to reveal itself to the galaxy. The Galactic Alliance Council chamber was filled with angry voices. Representatives from 200 species argued about the explosion in the restricted zone and the reports of unauthorized human military activity. The humans have violated every treaty they signed, shouted the Veldarian counselor, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in agitation. They must be sanctioned immediately. The Malorian representative stood on her platform, her small furry body trembling with emotion. We have trusted humans for too long. They have always been too aggressive, too warlike. The human representative, a gray-haired diplomat named Richard Boyd, remained calm in the face of these accusations. He had been ordered to stall for time while Earth prepared its response to the Harvester threat. The Alliance has no proof that humans were involved in the incident, Boyd said smoothly. I suggest we wait for a full investigation before making accusations. The debate might have continued for hours, but it was interrupted by an aide who rushed into the chamber and whispered urgently to the council president. The president, an ancient lizard-like being from one of the founding species of the Alliance, raised a clawed hand for silence. We are receiving reports of a massive fleet approaching the capital world, the president announced. They are human vessels. The chamber erupted in chaos. As the counselors shouted and demanded explanations, the main screen activated to show the space around the Alliance capital planet. Hundreds of ships had appeared in orbit, vessels of various sizes and designs, all bearing Earth's insignia, but unlike any ships the Alliance had seen before. "This is an invasion!" cried several counselors. Boyd shook his head. "No, it is a revelation, and perhaps salvation." The screen changed to show the bridge of the largest vessel. Admiral Olivia Hayes stood there, her uniform crisp and her expression serious. "Greetings to the Galactic Alliance Council. I am Admiral Olivia Hayes of Earth's United Defense Force. I come before you today not as an invader, but as a messenger and a potential ally in the face of a threat to all our worlds." She gestured, and the screen split to show images from the Phantom's databanks, the harvester ships, the attacks, and the decoded communications about their plans. "For centuries we have played by your rules," Hayes continued. "We've accepted restrictions that no other species faces. We've been good neighbors. But there is a threat beyond the borders that you've chosen to ignore, and now it's coming for all of us." The council chamber grew quiet as the images played. Hayes explained about the harvesters, their history of eliminating potential threats, and their plans to attack Earth. "You feared our warlike tendencies," Hayes said. "You were right to. But now those same tendencies might save this galaxy. The question is, will you stand with us, or will you stand aside?" The council president looked at the human representative. "You kept this fleet secret for all these years, despite our treaties?" Boyd nodded. "We hoped never to need it. But humanity has never forgotten a simple truth that many Alliance species seem to have forgotten. Peace is not the natural state of the universe. Sometimes, peace must be defended." After hours of debate, the council reached a decision. They would join forces with the human fleet to face the harvester threat. Ships from a dozen Alliance species would accompany the human vessels to the border of known space, where the harvester main fleet was gathering. On the bridge of her flagship, the Defiance, Admiral Hayes received the council's message. Commander Alan Russell stood beside her, having been brought from the research outpost to serve as her executive officer. "So they agreed," Russell said, sounding surprised. "They had little choice," Hayes replied. "But I'm glad they saw reason. This fight will need all of us. The harvesters have been eliminating potential rivals for thousands of years," Russell said. "They're experienced, well-equipped, and completely ruthless." Hayes nodded. "True, but they've never faced humans before, and humans have something special." "What's that?" "We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. We built this fleet, not to conquer, not for revenge, but because someone had to be ready when the real monsters came." The Shadow Fleet, now joined by ships from the Alliance, moved toward the border of known space. Intelligence from the surviving Phantom crew members in escape pods had given them the location of the harvester gathering point. On the Defiance, Dr. Susan Miller worked with Lisa Chen, the Phantom's former communications officer, who had been rescued from her escape pod. Together, they developed a way to block the harvester's psionic communications, using technology based on Susan's xenolinguistic research. "It might only work for a short time," Susan warned Hayes. "But it should give us an advantage in the first strike. That might be all we need," Hayes replied. The combined fleet reached the edge of the Orion Arm. Ahead, sensors detected over 200 harvester vessels, gathering for their assault on human space. Admiral Hayes addressed all ships in the fleet. "This is Admiral Hayes. Today we face an enemy that has terrorized this galaxy for millennia, eliminating any species they deemed a threat. They believe they are the supreme power in the universe. Today we prove them wrong." She paused, then continued. "Many of you never expected to fight alongside humans. You feared our capacity for warfare. But remember this. What makes us dangerous is also what makes us valuable allies. We do not seek conflict. But when it comes, we do not shy away from it, especially when the lives of our friends are at stake." The fleet moved forward in perfect, Formation. As they approached the Harvester Armada, Susan and Chen activated their psionic jamming system. The effect was immediate. The Harvester ships began to move erratically, their coordinated movements falling apart. "They're confused," Russell said, watching the tactical display. "They rely so heavily on their mental communication that they don't know what to do without it." "Now," Hayes ordered simply. The human ships struck first, using weapons and tactics unlike anything the Harvesters had faced before. The Alliance ships followed, adding their own unique capabilities to the assault. The battle was fierce but one-sided. Without their perfect coordination, the Harvesters couldn't match the combined fleet's adaptability and determination. Hours later, it was over. The Harvester fleet was destroyed or scattered. Their threat to the galaxy ended for the foreseeable future. In the council chamber, representatives watched the battle reports with a mixture of awe and concern. The human fleet had proven far more powerful than anyone had imagined. "Perhaps we were right to fear them after all," the Veldarian counselor said quietly. The Malorian representative shook her head. "No, we were right to respect them, but wrong to fear them. They built that fleet not to threaten us, but to protect themselves. And as it turns out, all of us." A week later, a new treaty was signed. The restrictions on human military development were lifted, in exchange for Earth integrating its fleet into the Alliance Defense Forces. Humans would take the lead in preparing for external threats, using their unique talents for preparation and warfare. Commander Russell stood on the observation deck of the Alliance headquarters, looking out at the stars. Dr. Susan Miller joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "So, no more secrets," she said, handing him a cup. "No more secrets," he agreed. "Though I'm not sure the galaxy is ready for humans unleashed." Susan smiled. "They'll adapt. That's what intelligent species do. And maybe we'll learn something. From them too." Russell nodded, sipping his coffee. "You know, the Harvesters weren't entirely wrong. We are dangerous." "Yes," Susan agreed, "but not in the way they thought. We're dangerous because we'll do whatever it takes to protect not just ourselves, but those we consider friends. Even a galaxy that feared us." From the observation window, they could see Earth ships working alongside Alliance vessels, preparing new defensive systems along the border. The Shadow Fleet had emerged from hiding and found its true purpose, not as a weapon of war, but as a shield for a galaxy that had finally recognized humanity's unique contribution. The SOS that had summoned the most dangerous human fleet had ended up saving them all.